Hello, my name is Jerry Freeman. I am the CEO and founder of PaletteApp. I often get asked when I go out to design firms and meet with manufacturers how we came up with the idea for PaletteApp. And it was one sort of stellar week in the summer of 2010. I was traveling with a friend of mine, and I was in Dallas, Texas, and I was meeting with an architect who was working on a project in Seoul, Korea. And we got through talking about what we wanted to talk about, and we started talking about his project. And he expressed his frustration in the time it took for him to get palette approval from his client. And he did the traditional way in which the designer and architect pulls a palette. He went to his library, pulled product. Once he got all the product samples in from all the different various companies, he then boxed it up, shipped it to Korea. That process of shipping took 10 days. Once the client got it, they held on to it for a week, then they would ship it back. And the whole process that it went through to get to one approval was 30, 45 days. So by the time he went through his 3 options for the client, it took him literally 4 months to get an approval on a final palette. And he seemed incredibly frustrated by this. It just so happened I was in Oklahoma City the next week meeting with an architect named Rand Elliott. And Rand's this amazing designer in Oklahoma City. And I had mentioned to him that I'd been at the beginning of Envision Carpet Systems, that I had also been at the beginning of Constantine Commercial Carpet. And it dumbfounded me that Rand had never heard of Constantine. And Constantine was basically a $50 million company at the time. And Rand was the one client in Oklahoma City that the rep should have been calling on because this was a great customer or a great potential customer. And he had never heard of it. So I had flown back to Chicago the next day. I was meeting with another really talented designer named Donna Corbett at Gary Lee Partners. And Donna and I had spent about 4 hours in her resource library. And in the 4 hours we were there, nobody came in the library. I mean, this is a firm that has about 45 people. And so I asked Donna at the end of our meeting where everybody was. Doesn't anybody use the library? And she basically said no. There's 3 or 4 people there that use the library. Everybody else, which basically is sort of the younger generation, all find product by going from site to site to site, and then they order tons of samples. And when they get all the samples in, then they narrow it down, and all the excess samples get thrown in the trash. And that seemed like such a colossal waste to me. And that was the genesis for PaletteApp.